สวัสดีค่ะ Good morning, Professor Kosit Sriputhon, President of Rajamangala University of Technology, Isan. Professor Anirudh Pipat Prapha, Dean of the Faculty of Business Administration. Professor Jindana Kemprasit, Associate Dean for Academic Affairs and Research. Distinguished guests, professors, judges, dear students, innovators, and change makers. It's my pleasure to be here today at this gathering that brings together young leaders from Thailand and around the world. I had the honor to visit RMUTI not too long ago, and I'm happy to visit again virtually. The theme that unites us today is youth empowerment for global change, and our focus, social enterprise and sustainable development, lies at the heart of that mission. As the UN, we work closely with social enterprises, and I've seen firsthand the great work that they do, and I've been particularly inspired by youth-led social enterprises in Thailand. Today, I will talk about the UN, the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, partnerships and the role of youth, the importance of social enterprises, and lastly, I'll share some ways for you to collaborate with the UN. We are facing a world of complex and interconnected challenges. From human security and well-being, deeply interlinked economies and societies, pandemics to the climate crisis, we cannot view these issues as isolated or independent. The international community has laid the foundation in many of these areas through cooperation and compromise. The UN's work is premised on the core values of human rights, gender equality, sustainability, peace, and justice. Most recently, the Pact for the Future reaffirmed the vital role of multilateralism and partnership as essential drivers of sustainable development. So what value does the United Nations bring? The UN delivers cutting-edge science-based policy advice and technical assistance to tackle regional and global challenges, including climate change, emissions reductions, demographic shifts, and bridging the digital divide. We also advance the normative agenda of human rights, gender equality, and leave no one behind principles, with a focus on migrants, refugees, and displaced populations. And we also leverage strategic partnerships, including South-South and triangular cooperation. Let me introduce a little bit about the United Nations work in Thailand. We are a UN country team of about 21 agencies, and we're all working towards the SDGs, but we're looking at it from different angles. I'll just give you a quick example. On the issue of inclusive business, the International Labor Organization, or ILO, will be looking at it from a labor perspective and perhaps on the value chains. UNICEF may be looking at it from the perspective of child-friendly business practices, while UNDP promotes social entrepreneurship and facilitates dialogue with impact investors, and also acts as a bridge to make the connection with established social enterprises from other countries in the region. In my office, the Resident Coordinator's Office, we play a central role in facilitating the work of the UN country team. Another way to explain is like we're kind of like the UN embassy that's stationed in Thailand. So we're working on priorities in Thailand, for Thailand, and with Thailand. And in terms of what we see as priority areas in the country, we're focused on three main issues. The first one is on inclusive, green, and resilient economy. The second one is on strengthening human capital development. And the third one is on reducing inequalities. These are the three areas that we see as being priorities in the country. And to effectively address the challenges, both nationally and globally, we need partnerships. Why? Because no single person, organization, or sector can deliver the SDGs alone. To succeed, we need inclusive partnerships that span across all sectors. At the UN, we embrace what we call a whole of society approach. That means that everyone has a role to play, from government and businesses to communities and youth. The UN helps create entry points for collaboration, making it easier for all of us to contribute. And each one of us, even as individuals, can make a difference and contribute towards achieving the SDGs. Let me share how the UN works with young people. In Thailand, the UN works with universities to empower youth through partnerships that promote SDG awareness, practical learning, and social innovation. Last year, the 59 universities under the Sustainable University Network, or SUN Network, signed a statement of commitment at the UN to drive SDGs and empower students within their universities. And by collaborating with universities and youth, the UN supports youth engagement through SDG polling. We do expert lectures. We also have global citizenship programs, and we reach over 600,000 students. And these initiatives connect young people to the UN through the UN's expertise. We also provide accesses to resources like the SDG microprimer, which I'll explain in just a minute, and also create platforms for youth to contribute to sustainable development, social cohesion, and innovative solutions. And it's through these partnerships, young people are positioned at the heart of building sustainable, inclusive change. So as the UN, we do have a lot of resources, but I did want to take this opportunity to share some of the resources with you today. A lot of the resources we have on SDGs are in English or in the official UN languages, but we realized that if we could develop a tool that was localized to the Thai context and made available in Thai, we would reach a wider audience in the country. So we came up with the SDG microprimer. I'd invite you to take a picture of this slide if you're interested, so that you can save it for later. And then I'll also invite you to scan the QR code. There's an English version and a Thai version that will take you straight to the SDG microprimer. This is a tool that we developed with UNESCO and the UN System Staff College, which focuses on three main issues that are relevant to youth. And that's ocean plastics. Second is on air pollution, and the third one is on inequalities in education. This microprimer tool is done in a way that's interactive, and it only takes about 30 minutes to do. And once you're completed, you can get a certificate that's issued by the UN. And it's a great learning tool. It's a free resource, so I would highly recommend taking a few minutes to go through the SDG microprimer. Because tools like the microprimer aim at raising awareness on SDGs, and it also supports the implementation of SDGs. The slide that you see in front of you now is a snapshot of the progress of SDGs in the Asia Pacific region. And if you look at the slide, not only are we not at a place progressing at a rate that we should be progressing, in some cases, we're actually regressing or going backwards. And as you can see, climate action, which is under SDG 13, really requires urgent attention. Our region here in Asia Pacific continues to experience rising emissions and increased disaster risk. And this is something that we really need to focus much attention on. It also reminds us, that more needs to be done. And the topic before us today, the social enterprise and sustainable development, is both timely and crucial. As we face urgent challenges like the climate crisis, inequality, and access to education and healthcare, we really need new ways of thinking and bold models of action. And social enterprises combine the agility of business with the purpose of social good. They are powerful accelerators of the SDGs, and we cannot achieve these goals without young people like you leading the way. But one lesson from experience is clear: no one changes the world alone. Partnership is the foundation of lasting impact. And this competition is a great example, bringing together students, educators, business leaders, and communities to collaborate and co-create solutions. The UN's experience shows us that partnerships across sectors and generations are what make real change possible. No matter who wins today, the very act of thinking about how to create positive change already makes all of you winners. And I'm truly inspired. I really am to see all of you here today, and even more excited to see what kind of future you will shape. As I conclude, let me share with you some takeaways. The first one is that youth are central to driving sustainable solutions. Of course, young people bring the ideas and energy and insight needed to tackle global challenges. The second one is that partnerships amplify impact. We can achieve far greater results when we work together. The third one, social enterprises are powerful drivers of SDGs. They combine innovation and purpose to create lasting social and economic good. And then lastly, the UN facilitates entry points for collaboration through initiatives like SDG learning programs and expert exchanges. The UN helps youth access global expertise and builds partnerships for sustainable development. I want to take this opportunity to really thank you for your time this morning. We are active on social media on the different platforms, so please feel free to follow us. I would really like to wish all of the teams a good luck. And on behalf of the United Nations, thank you for your partnership in advancing the SDGs. สวัสดีค่ะ
We are very honored with the relationship to the Rajamangala University of Technology. As you mentioned, we are part of the Microeconomics of Competitiveness Network. This is a global network of universities that teaches courses on competitiveness. But we're actually so much more than a group of universities that want to teach to students. We want to empower, we want to see change in the countries in which our affiliates are active. And it's because of that that I'm was so happy to see about this initiative about the social enterprise, a global award that you're planning. This is about change. This is about empowerment. This is about action. What we need is really to translate the ideas of research, the ideas of teaching that we have in academia, and bring them to the real world. And I think this is one of the great examples of how you're doing that. I wanted to share a few thoughts on how social enterprise, I think, is really an idea whose time has come. That is very central to sort of some of the key challenges that we're currently facing. So let me quickly share my presentation with you. So I hope the slides are visible now.
Boy.
So, as I mentioned, I'm speaking today to you as the chair of the MOC network. I'm also now a lead economist at the World Bank, where I joined earlier this year. I think first of all, I think we have to sort of step back a little bit and think about, you know, what's the time that we are in right now. And for you that are students that are studying, that are about to enter the labor market, that have maybe already had some years of experience, it is a new world that's out there. For us that have been in that labor market, in that world for a longer period of time, I think what we're seeing is that we're in a momentous time of disruption. We see climate change, we see changes in the global system, we see wars around us, we also see a huge technology change. So I think this is a time where you have to revisit some of your stronghold beliefs and think about, okay, so how do the rules, how does the game book that we've used for many years still apply in this sort of new environment that's around us? We're not in a period of sort of evolutionary small change in individual areas. What we see is sort of systemic change, and we need to make sense of what's happening around us. Now, I've been working a lot on competitiveness, so essentially sort of the drivers of long-term sustainable growth and prosperity in different countries. And what we've seen is that the game book has really been changed dramatically. If we look at the last 20 or 30 years, certainly the period of huge globalization, it basically competitiveness and creating the foundations for prosperity was all about productivity. It was about your ability to create value. It was the quality of the business environment, your skills, your infrastructure, your rules and regulations, your access to capital, the openness of your market to competition. It was company sophistication, the quality of your strategies, the uniqueness of the value proposition that your companies had. It was about the strength of your clusters, about these groups of related and supporting industries in specific parts of your economies where you developed distinct strength. And it was about institutions, it was about macroeconomic stability. Essentially, once you put these factors into place, you could count on your location being able to achieve high levels of productivity and succeed in the marketplace. Now, what has changed? We've entered into a period where productivity alone is often not enough. Why is it not enough? Because government and global institutions, or the lack of global institutions in some cases, mean that leverage allows some players to sort of tilt the marketplace in ways that benefits them. So to be successful as a location, it's not enough to be able to create value, but to ensure that you can also capture value in the space of the market in which you are. It has much more to do with market size. It has much more to do with controlling specific unique assets and capabilities that are valuable to others. It sometimes has to do with political power. It also still has to do with productivity and competitiveness. Unless you're economically strong, your political power and your ability to influence the system will be weakened even further. Now, if it means that political influence has a larger role to play in who is able to capture value, it also means that the quality of your institutions, the coherence of your policies, and your ability to implement policies becomes a much more important factor that is shaping your position on the global marketplace. So this is sort of how the context of competitiveness is changing. But it's not only that the marketplace has been changing, it's also our expectations as societies of what we want to see emerge. Our objective function, as we call it as economies, has changed. So if we look at the past, we often looked at GDP per capita or simple measures of prosperity as sort of the overarching goal of economic activity. If you look at societies now, and I think for many of you, if you ask yourself, what defines success? What defines a society and an economy that you would consider successful? It is not just prosperity, it is also prosperity. But it is about the ability of that prosperity to be shared across society, across different groups of society. It's the ability to have prosperity that's sustainable, so that's on a healthy planet. It's about prosperity that's resilient and solid, that helps you to withstand crisis like we've seen in the pandemic. And it's prosperity that not just represents itself in GDP, but also in non-GDP measures of societal impact. So our objective function has changed. What we want to see as society has changed. In that way, I think we're moving away from a world that was defined by trade-offs. As economists, what we learn is that economics is basically a choice of limited resources across a set of objectives or needs that are basically unlimited. So the choice is always that you might want to do more for social goods, but then you have to take away money from other objectives that you have. So that is the way that we've been taught to think, and that has been guiding our policy decisions. I do think we are moving to a world that is slightly different, to a world where the principle of shared value becomes much more important, where it's about finding activities that are working towards several goals at once. That is only possible in the model of economists if we are not at the frontier of our performance. At the frontier, you only can choose between different goals. The reality is we're often not at the frontier. We're at a place much inside where, in fact, we can move in a direction that help us to move towards more than one goal. And that is really the principle of shared value. Looking for opportunities, also economic opportunities, that are profitable, but that are also working towards societal goals. Let me give you an example. The way that we think about sustainability, environmental sustainability, and economic growth and prosperity can be framed in very different ways. So if you think about this problem as a problem of trade-offs, the only solution if you want to achieve economic, environmental sustainability, is degrowth. So you're arguing that there's a trade-off. And that means, if you want to become more environmental sustainable, you have to become less prosperous. Now, that's a tough choice for Western societies already, and I think we see that in our political system. It's an impossible choice for emerging economies like Thailand or for some of your poorer brothers in the regions and in other parts of the global south. And there, if we frame this as a trade-off, we're basically not going to achieve the type of sustainability in reaction to climate change that we need. Now, then there is a hope to decouple. I've done a lot of work in Denmark, where I'm vice chair of the innovation agency. And I think there the model was really to say, what can we do to use innovation, to use entrepreneurship and new technological ideas to essentially separate these things so that economic growth and environmental sustainability have nothing to do with each other anymore. That's a nice idea, but of course the reality is not quite like that, because economic activity does involve nature. Environmental sustainability does require resources to sort of upgrade your capital stock and change the way that you think about it. And so there is instead this idea of green growth that says there are some trade-offs, but there are also a lot of things that we can do that are both enhancing sustainability and enhancing the profitability of our economy and our companies. I think this is an idea that is particularly important for countries like Thailand and other emerging economies. Why? Because you are in a process where you have to upgrade. You have to use new technologies. You want to become more productive. You want to become more prosperous. But as you adopt these new technologies, you have an opportunity to not be constrained by legacies, but actually adopt technologies that are both more productive and more sustainable. Does that happen automatically? No. It is a matter of how the political context is set, but it is also a matter of how you choose as individuals, as entrepreneurs, as people that are shaping the direction of your companies. And this is, and let me end with that, exactly, I think, where the idea of social enterprise comes in. Social enterprises are not agnostic about the impact that they generate on society. They're not simply driven by a profit interest. They have a much larger purpose. They want to see that what they do actually pays into several societal goals, including being profitable. But at the same time, social enterprises are not just a social venture. They are not agnostic about the fact that what they do, the products and services that they provide, that they require resources. And so they are thinking about this as an enterprise, as something that can be profitable, that generates value, that elicits payments for the things that it offers. And that is actually what makes it economically sustainable. Only if you're profitable is it possible to scale what you do, and it is possible to scale the impact that you have on society. If you're not profitable, it means that you will persistently rely on the handouts or the transfers from other parts of the economy or society. That's not a model that is sustainable, and that's often a model that sort of is very limited in time and certainly in scale of what you can do. So I really applaud you for celebrating social enterprise. I applaud you, the students that have participated in this competition, and I wish you all the best. And let me say one last thing. I talked quite a bit about the notion of social enterprise. Let me also talk a little bit about the notion of enterprise. Enterprise always talks about the future. As an entrepreneur, making the choice to become an entrepreneur is a representation of how much you believe in the future. And I think that, especially in times of a lot of change and uncertainty and what the future will bring, I think it's a testament of exactly what we need more. Trust in the future and trust in that we create a better outcome for all of us. So thank you for having me, and all the best to all the participants and the winners of the Social Enterprise Challenge. Thank you very much.